They thought she'd stay
Unnerva!
silent after
You
being
have to
humiliated
do
in front
something
of the
about
entire
this
school.
right now!
But what she did next made national headlines, and changed her life forever. Watch till the end, because this story will make you believe in the power of standing up when the world tries to push you down. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that will make your heart race and your soul rise. In the crowded auditorium of Westview High, laughter echoed like a cruel wave. Two girls, Melissa and Tara, self-proclaimed queens of popularity, stood smirking in the center while a third girl, Ava Monroe, stood frozen, her cheek stinging from a sharp slap that silenced even the principal for a moment. It wasn't just a slap, it was a public declaration of dominance. 200 students watched as her books scattered, her glasses broke, and her reputation shattered like glass underfoot. For a second, Ava wanted to disappear, but that moment, that sting, that humiliation became the spark that would ignite her transformation. Ava had always been quiet, the kind of girl who wore oversized hoodies, read poetry at lunch, and sat alone by the window during group work. No one knew that she came from a small house on the edge of town where her father worked double shifts as a mechanic and her mother was fighting stage 4 cancer. No one saw the sleepless nights spent studying under a flickering bulb or the notebook full of dreams she never shared. That day, after being slapped, she ran to the restroom, locked herself in a stall, and cried, not because of the pain, but because of how powerless she felt. But while others might have broken, Ava began to rebuild. She wiped her tears, looked into the mirror, and whispered, "They'll remember my name, but not for this." She spent the next weeks in silence, not with fear but with focus. She joined the debate club, where her sharp mind quickly earned her respect. She volunteered for the school's community project, turning it into a fundraiser for cancer awareness, something close to her heart. Meanwhile, the bullies mocked her efforts, posting memes, spreading rumors, calling her charity girl. But Ava didn't react. She smiled, stayed calm, and kept moving. When the regional science fair was announced, Ava saw her chance. She spent sleepless nights in her father's garage, working on an eco-energy project inspired by her dad's struggles with rising bills. When the big day came, the same students who laughed at her now watched as her invention lit up a small bulb using recycled parts. The judges were stunned. She didn't just win first place, she got a scholarship offer from a state university. The news spread through school like wildfire, but Melissa and Tara couldn't stand it. They cornered her again, this time in the hallway, accusing her of cheating, calling her a fraud. But this time, Ava didn't flinch. She calmly pulled out a flash drive, plugged it into the library computer, and played a recording she had kept for months, proof of their bullying, their harassment, their fake accounts mocking other students. The crowd that once laughed now stared in shock. Teachers stepped in, the principal called their parents, and within a week, the bullies were suspended. But Ava's story didn't stop there. A local news outlet caught wind of her journey, a bullied girl who fought back not with violence, but with brilliance. They aired her story, and overnight, her inbox filled with messages from students across the country thanking her for giving them courage. She was invited to speak at youth events, her confidence blossomed, and she became a voice against bullying. Yet, deep inside, Ava never forgot the pain of that first slap. It became the foundation of her strength. Months later, when her mother passed away peacefully, Ava dedicated her scholarship to her memory, saying, "She taught me that silence isn't weakness, it's the breath before the storm." Years later, as she walked onto the stage at her university graduation, she looked out into the crowd and spotted two familiar faces, Melissa and Tara, sitting quietly among the guests, now humbled. They approached her afterward, tears in their eyes, apologizing for everything. And Ava, with the grace of someone who had truly grown, forgave them, not for their sake, but for her own peace. "If I hadn't met you," she said softly, "I'd never have found my strength." The video of that moment went viral, viewed by millions who saw in her story a reflection of their own struggles. She went on to start a foundation for bullied teens, helping them turn pain into purpose. But the most shocking twist came years later when her story inspired a lawmaker to introduce a nationwide anti-bullying bill, naming it Ava's Act. Schools were now required to implement emotional wellness programs and safe reporting systems. Ava was invited to the signing ceremony, standing beside senators and advocates, the once broken girl now a national inspiration. When a reporter asked how it felt to go from being humiliated in front of 200 students to changing the law, she smiled and said, "It started with a slap, but ended with a voice." And in that moment, the world finally understood, Ava's greatest revenge wasn't success, it was transformation. She didn't fight back to destroy her bullies, she rose to rebuild herself so high that they could never reach her again. And for every person who's ever been laughed at, pushed down, or made to feel invisible, her story became a beacon of hope that whispered, "You're stronger than their words, louder than their hate, and brighter than their shadows."